Good evening, you're watching the WeatherFlow Wind Alert Update for Saturday, February the 6th. It's about 9:30 p.m. and we're watching an interesting area of low pressure develop off of the Florida coast, as we've been talking about for the last couple of days, to possibly set up a coastal nor'easter where we may get some frozen precipitation along the eastern half of South Carolina overnight tonight. The big thing here is going to be rains, heavy rains, high winds, and tidal surge early in the morning at 6:23 a.m. We could see a high tide surge of an extra foot to foot and a half. A foot and a half might be going a little bit high on that, and we'll look at that in just a minute. But for right now on radar, we're seeing some upstream moisture make its way up into South Carolina. Here's the low pressure system is going to be developing right about here. Here's that swath of moisture making its way upstream along the subtropical jet associated with that low and a mid-level low that was over here earlier. It's now transferring all of its energy into this area to help develop this low pressure that's seeing a little bit of a spin right here. So that's going to be expected overnight. This little feature right here represents, and we'll get to that in just a little bit too, I want you to keep this in mind because this area is called the Charleston Bump, and we're seeing a lot of convective activity going on along this area with a northeasterly flow from high pressure to the north. And basically what that reflects is that there's a warmer air mass out there that's heading into this area. So as this low pressure develops out here and starts with this counterclockwise wrapping motion, that's going to provide a warm air layer into our coastline. So that's going to have an effect on whether or not we see any kind of frozen precipitation actually make it to the ground, or if it falls as sleet or mixed in just a few flakes with the rain. So there's our evidence right there of a warm layer trying to make its way into the coastline. So keep that in mind as we go forward with this forecast. We'll go ahead and close this out, and we'll take a look at the SPC mesoanalysis. Here's the exactness of what's going on over the area. So here's the swath of rain over our area right now. Here's the low pressure starting to come together. It looks like it just closed off. This isobar wrapping all the way around suggests that the low pressure is starting to really organize. It's at 1,016 millibars now, but we do expect the center to develop and the pressure to fall very rapidly. We call this cyclogenesis in meteorology, where these low pressures form over right off the Atlantic with double energy, with energies pushed into them, and then they form very quickly and they deepen in pressure and strengthen. So this low will form here. It will go up the coastline and then head off to the northeast in time. That will have some effects to North Carolina. So that's what we're looking at as far as right now. This low is just now coming together tonight. Okay, so here we go. Let's take a look at Datascope, our WeatherFlow Datascope viewer, and you can see some high winds out there. We got 23 to 29 knots, gusting into the low 30s. Here's the Charleston buoy, seeing the same thing. These updates come through about once an hour, and basically what you see is just some higher winds offshore. Gray's Reef is 25 to 30, looks like 31 knots. And then here at Winyah Bay, it looks like some of those winds are starting to come up, and pulses along the coastline. We saw a gust to a little over 30 knots just a little while ago. So as we zoom into Charleston, let's take a look at what's going on here locally. Now, earlier we saw some pulses of northeast, east northeasterly winds. Right now we have 15 to 18 knot gusts in the Charleston Harbor at Fort Sumter Front Range Light. Temperature is 42.1 degrees, so starting to get a little bit on the chilly side. Some of that cooler air is starting to pull down into the area. So 42.2 degrees on Isle of Palms at 10 knots. 14 knots at Folly Beach, gusting to 19 at 40.7 degrees. So we're going to have to really watch these air temperatures as the night goes on. Now let's take a look at some of the model suites here. I'm going to select all models because I want to see what the temperature line is going to do out of this. Down here below in the computer forecast tables, you can see the high winds from the GFS model really cranking it up, 24 knots to 27 knots later from a northerly angle, starting north-northeast and then slowly backing to north and north-northwest. Some of those gusts are carrying up into the mid-30s, which means that we could see some gusting into the low 40-mile-an-hour ranges tomorrow, mixed in with some of that rain. So pretty squally weather as that low-pressure system moves off of our coastline. So let's go ahead and take a look at the air temperature. Zoom in on this just a little bit. And here's the model guidance for air temperatures. Now, as we go overnight, these temps are going to start falling further down. Now right now we're just a little bit over 40 degrees, so we're actually a little bit below these model forecasts. As we go in time, it looks like the NAM 12K brings it down a little bit further into close to the mid 30s. Most of these other models keep it up into the upper 30s to near 40 degrees throughout the day tomorrow. And then as we get later in the day and into the evening, these temperatures start to come up into the mid 40s. So this dip in the air temperatures is going to make the difference in whether or not we see snow mixed in with the rain. We can still have snow mixed in with the rain. It just doesn't stick. It falls from a higher frozen column higher up, and then it falls down into the warm layer at the surface and melts. But if we do get a warm layer in between that, we could see sleet as it falls as snow, melts at a mid-level layer, and then refreezes as it goes down below. I don't think we're going to see freezing temperatures at the surface, though, unless we get enough frozen precipitation to cool the ambient temperature down throughout. It's a very tricky situation here because we just don't know if we're going to get any frozen precip or not, and I think our focus mainly is going to be on the high winds, the rain, and the tidal surging. So here's the model outlook, and this is what the GFS is showing from its initialization. I think since the low is now forming, we'll have a better model forecast out of that from the midnight runs. But for right now, let's go ahead and run the 6 p.m. runs from earlier. And here's what the GFS is showing the storm is going to do. So you can see this little blue shaded area. That represents the snow. And that is where we're thinking that this northerly wraparound and some of this colder air coming down from the north could start to show some flakes mixing in, or some frozen precipitation mixing into that somehow. So we do think that there could be some freezing mix in with the rain. But as far as accumulations, I don't think we're going to see any accumulations because the ground temperatures are just too warm for it for right now. We have soil temperatures right now at about 43, 44 degrees. We also have air temperatures from the GFS for tomorrow at 2 meter, and this is at about 1 o'clock on Sunday. For tomorrow, actually, we can even go 18 hours and see that first thing in the morning, we're going to see 36, 37 degrees according to the GFS, and that's just a little bit inland, probably a little bit warmer along the coast. Our sea surface temperatures are 55 degrees. So, we have a lot of warming mechanisms going on here along the coast to thwart some of this frozen precip. So it's going to be very hard to get that into this area. Soil, like I said, soil temps are 43, 44 degrees. Here's our high tide anomaly. Now, tomorrow morning, 6:23 a.m., we have about a 5.75, somewhere between 5.75 and 6 foot high tide, and we're on spring tide as well. So we get high winds and heavy rains. We could see a surge upwards close to 7 feet, and that means some coastal flooding could occur. So be aware of that as well. Always check with the National Weather Service for all their advisories, watches, and warnings to see what they're saying about coastal flooding and any other events. So I encourage everyone to be watching the National Weather Service for the Charleston area specifically, or for your area along the coastline. Speaking of which, here's the Charleston National Weather Forecast Office. They have plenty of watches and warnings out there going on. They have gale warning, they have a small craft advisory warning, they have lake wind advisories out there. We might start to see some flood watch or some flood warnings come up tomorrow or overnight tonight as these rains continue to stream in on shore. So keep tabs on your local National Weather Service office for these warnings, because it's going to be very important to tune into them. Now here's our NOAA WPC probabilistic map of snowfall or mixed precipitation. The accumulation map here is for anything greater than 1 inch, and you can see how they have swathed the whole area all the way down through Savannah. Charleston is in about the 30 to 40% range to see a greater accumulation than 1 inch is what they're saying. And then as we go up into Somerville, Florence, this whole area, this darker area is more of a 50 to 60% chance. So they're seeing more where that cold air is meeting that moisture wraparound from that low pressure is where the higher swath, the higher percentage of precipitation is going to occur. So let me go back to that one for Monday. Here we go. So even if we go to greater than 2 inches, we see the chance, we're still in the chance, we're down to about a 10 to about a 20% chance to see greater than 2 inches. This area drops down to about 30%, and even if we go greater than 4 inches, we're still in the window for a very slight possibility, 10 to 20% chance, and then even at 6 inches. So, even though the models are kind of flip-flopping back and forth on whether or not we're going to get any accumulation of frozen precipitation, I think that as long as we tune into the National Weather Service to find out what the latest information they have going on, we're going to be better off. We'll be continuing to watch radar. I'll be up in the morning to take a look at everything going on and see if there's any concerns to be out there. We may see a few flakes by the time we wake up in the morning and the sun comes up, or even earlier than that. So we'll continue to watch, and I think that's going to wrap it up for this forecast for tonight. And I'll be back on tomorrow morning to do an update, and we'll take a look at what the conditions are then. So until then, stay safe. Thanks for watching. See you soon.